it's a leap year.
Oh, God. that extra day.
I was going to say it was going to be a short month. But,
oh, that extra day is going to really make a difference.
It's going to get in the way. No problem. And there's a lot to talk about. Not as many games, but maybe not.
I have some beefy mamas to talk about.
That's why.
That's not an expression I want to use again. What's happening, party people? Welcome to Punchboard Party. My name is Daniel. This is Father Greg, and you are tuning in for our best of the month, January 2024 edition.
That's right.
This is the first month of 2024, and we played board games.
What a hot start to the year.
Oh, yeah, we are coming out of the gates swinging.
Right.
So if you don't know, party people, what we do in this video is we talk about every single board game we've played in a particular month, this month being January, and then at the end of the video, we tell you what the best board game for us that we played in the month was. So please, let us know in the comments down below what you've been playing at the beginning of 2024, what you're liking, even what you kind of thought you would like and maybe didn't. Give us some recommendations down below. We always appreciate talking to you down there, party people. Well, why don't you start us off?
Okay. My first board game of the month was my sort of solo game of the month. I seem to have one of these.
You do.
More or less each month. And that's Wayfarers of the South Tigris.
Oh,
so,
okay.
I've got Scholars on pre-order, but it's like with a bunch of other games that like all need to
you shot yourself in the foot a little bit.
come in. And so I go to like the store, I see Scholars, and I yearn for it, but I know I've already bought it.
Yeah.
It's just like I don't have it.
So really tempted to buy it again.
That's right. So I went and played Wayfarers anyways, just to see. I think this is the first time I played with the solo mode, just kind of see. And I like their solo modes. They're pretty simple. And the way that a lot of their solo modes are done is like the AI has like a strategy kind of built in. So you choose like, okay, this AI is going to go all in on space. This AI is going to go in. So you kind of play against like whoever you want, right? But you kind of know from the outset like, oh, this guy's going to focus on down this particular route. So you can try to maybe build around that. I lost. It was this. I'm pretty convinced that this AI is hard though.
Okay.
Like at least the one strategy that I played against, I was like, this is rough. I was like, but it was still a good time.
Okay, that's interesting. So currently, I'm ranking all of the board games I've played on Pub People. You're doing the same. We're getting ready for something.
That's right.
I wonder what we're getting ready for. But every time Wayfarers comes up on the screen, I think I just hate it more and more.
Yeah.
I remember more and more about it that I just did not like.
There's a few things. This is not my favorite of the Garfield.
Yeah, I mean, I love them. I love Garfield games.
Yeah.
But like this game in particular, it felt like, so there's a bunch of card rows that you draft from, and they go all the way around the perimeter of the board.
Yep.
And they're all the same. Like they're different, but they're the same. So it feels like you're playing the same game 4 times in the same game.
That's right.
And I'm just not into it.
Except they all have different rules. It's like the cost for one
and the icons.
The cost for one of the cards is on the card. The cost for the other cards is on the board itself.
Yes.
And the cost for the other cards is on your player aid. So when you're looking for the cost, it's very easy to forget that you actually have to buy cards.
It's a bit of a mess. But good for them, but good for you for trying out this.
As a solo mode, it's fun.
I mean, I'm hearing a lot of great things about Scholars, though.
I am, yeah. So excited to play it.
Okay, so for me, first up, out of the gate, this was the Christmas present under the tree. Sarah got it for me for Christmas. I mean, I bought it for myself, but she wrapped it and put it under the tree. This was Dune Imperium Uprising.
Oh my goodness.
And you have no idea the amount of stress I had trying to put this game in my notes. Where does the colon go? Is there something else? Because this is normally Dune Imperium.
That's right.
Uprising. So is it Dune Imperium Uprising? Or what? It's a dash apparently on Board Game Geek. It's Dune Imperium Uprising.
Wow.
It's a bit much.
Okay.
It's a bit much. I gotta tell you, party people, Dune Imperium Uprising is great.
Right.
Like, I mean, Dune Imperium, last time we checked in, was my favorite board game of all time. And so Dune Imperium Uprising is the same game. So it's streamlined, the spaces on the board are a little different. The big innovations for Uprising is that there is a new token that you get that's a spy. And so you have certain opportunities during the game to place a spy. And a spy, there's a location on the board. There's multiple locations on the board that connect to worker placement locations. And so if you have a spy at one of those locations that are kind of networked to agent spaces, and there's another agent on the space you want to go to, you can remove your spy and place an agent on an occupied space. You could also, there's a couple other things you can do with the spies, but they just add a little bit more flexibility. But it's kind of like you sort of hedge your bets of where you might want to go and where other people might take up your space. But the real beauty is that on some of the cards, you get like really big bonuses for removing spies from the board. So you populate the board with spies, then you remove them for like a victory point or whatever the case may be. So again, this is like it's a standalone game, but it's like any Dune Imperium expansion where it's just the same game done in a different way, and it doesn't really, for me, make it much better or worse. And it's just different. It's just you're doing the same stuff. You have a few different options of how you play the game. There's new cards, new art. They've done it, party people. They've made the sandworms mean something in this game.
Okay.
So you can go to a agent space and you can get a sandworm hook, and now you can employ sandworms into battle if you have that hook. And when you employ sandworms into battle, they're like the dreadnoughts from Rise of Ix, except they go away after the battle. And so they're a 3 unit. But if you win a battle with a sandworm, you double the reward that you get. So I don't really know how that works. Sarah and I played this twice together,
Right.
so we were using House Hagal. And the fact that you can double the reward, so like double the victory points, the game is faster than the original, which is a benefit, I think, for a lot of people. You're not just hanging around. But the jury's still out for me as to whether, again, I'll play any iteration of Dune Imperium, and it's all good for me. And there's some really fun choices. A major benefit of this game is they figured out some of the agent spaces that were just not appealing at all in the original edition. They've kind of balanced that all out, and they've spaces that might have had balance issues in the past, they've rectified those issues. Again, I don't know if it's better or worse for it.
Well, the next game that I played was I went over to Mary and Dallas's, and for Christmas I got them a gift, which was the Magnificent. So we played through the Magnificent. Yeah, most of us had a magnificent time. We're going to play it again tonight.
There's only 3 of you.
Yeah, most of us had a magnificent time.
So one of you did not.
So one person had a slightly lower score than the other two.
But they're willing to play it again.
Yes.
Can we out Mary on this one?
Wow, rude. I wasn't going to say it, but sure. No, the Magnificent's lovely. It's got a nice kind of just a magician like theme. Like, so it's a weird theme. It's kind of theme you don't often see in board gaming. But yeah,
like a circus with real magical powers is kind of the theme.
Sort of, I guess. Yeah, it seems like there is magic, but maybe not a ton of it.
Right.
Like you got animal acts and illusion acts and fire acts, but the dudes who do the acts, they look not quite like normal humans.
Right. There you go. Dice drafting, polyomino placement.
So you dice draft. You pick a dice and then you do one of 3 actions with that dice. But the way that it goes is that there's 3 different colors and as well as a wild color. So you draft a dice, but then let's say you draft a purple 6, and then the next round you draft a purple 4. If they're the same color, now you have a 10 purple.
Okay.
So each round that you draft the same color of dice that you have before, that action becomes that much more powerful.
Okay.
But at the end of each round, you need to pay money equal to the pips of your most numerous dice value. So if you go all in on purple, you're gonna have really good actions, but you're also gonna have to pay $16 at the end of the turn.
Okay.
Whereas if you balance out a green dice, an orange dice, a purple dice, you only pay $4 at the end of the game. But
and you'll have okay actions.
That's right.
That's fascinating. That's really cool.
It's a neat
I like
thing.
that.
Yep.
Okay, so next, me and the boys, we were finishing up Kids Chronicles Quest for the Moonstones. So we finished up that whole campaign, and
right.
It is rock and roll, man.
It is.
The end campaign. You
Right.
get to use all the moonstones that you found.
Yes.
And there's these different challenges that require a different moonstone. Mm-hmm. And there was one point the boys were trying to do something, and they were just obsessed with using the moonstones. And the person was clearly saying, "Oh, that's a nice try, but you'll need to use something other than magic here." And they were just like, "Okay, the windstone. No, you'll have to use something other than magic here. Okay, the firestone. Okay." But they were just like so amped. But like the last scenario, there's like Merlin's arch nemesis comes along. Like there's a whole thing. He was like not really even at all in the the proceeding.
No. He just shows up.
He just shows up. It's like, this is awesome.
That's right.
So we liked it.
Yeah,
it was fun.
No, it is. It's a fun journey through. It's a great time. I like that game, especially with kids.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I might have fun with it by myself too. But really, there was a lot of solidarity in our last video around Chronicles of Crime,
right?
Where there was like 2 or 3 party people that were like, "Yeah, I thought I was the only one that felt stupid playing that game." So I felt seen, known, and loved.
Right. Next game I played was Thunder Road Vendetta.
Whoa! Here we go.
Yes,
mediocre.
So I'm impressed. I don't think I even knew what this game was.
Oh, really? Okay.
When Dallas pulled it out, I was like, "What the heck is this?" And basically, it's downforce with machine guns. You're racing along this race, but along the way, there's all these like obstacles, and then there's your cars yourself, and you can ram into other cars. And then there's a chopper that you can send. You each have a chopper that you can send to shoot after them.
Okay.
And basically, it's just the last one standing.
Yes.
Like there's a finish line, and so at a certain point, it's whoever crosses the finish line first.
Right. But it might not make it to the finish line.
Yeah, like half of the cars, like more than half, get just eliminated.
So I was really excited to hear about this game because when I was a kid, I used to play on the PlayStation 1.
Okay.
A game called Red Asphalt.
Okay.
And it was just Mario Kart, except like really like gritty metal grunge, like sci-fi reality, Gatling guns on the ends of cars. Right. And I was like, Thunder Road Vendetta sounds right up my alley.
Right. Obviously, this is a game that involves a hefty amount of rolling dice, and you crash with a car and you roll a dice, and there's like big cars, medium cars, and little cars, and so like big cars are generally going to have an advantage, and that the dice is kind of weighted to favor the big cars. But you can still bump into a car, and like your car goes careening into the cliff, and you die. It's just like, okay, sweet. Well, you got 2 cars left. So, but yeah, each car you can you basically take dice and you use them and kind of draft them, sort of, and then like put them into different cars. You decide which car you're gonna move up the fastest, and you can use your dice to repair your car at times and stuff like that. But yeah, fun game. I mean, it was
so like a good time, like
a good time, a random chaotic time.
Yes,
but a good time.
Yeah, okay, that's fun. That's fun. Okay, next, Sarah and I during the Christmas break, Sarah and I played a lot of games together, which is really great. Right. And so we had our secondary table set up in the living room, and so it made it a lot easier to get games played because there was a table that was clear all the time. Our kitchen table often gets cluttered, and so to have a table to just game on was helpful. And so Sarah, she didn't ever like Splendor.
Okay.
So I tentatively suggested that we play Splendor Duel.
Right.
At the beginning of the game, she persisted in her dislike of Splendor.
Right.
By the middle of the game, she loved Splendor Duel.
Nice.
So just the head-to-head nature, the outsmarting nature, she was just better than me.
Okay.
Which everybody is. I'm terrible at Splendor, but I had a lovely time playing Splendor Duel with my wife. This is I can't recommend this game more highly. If you play primarily 2 people, you're looking for another kind of dueling game that works really well for what it says it's supposed to, 2 players, you should check out Splendor Duel if you haven't already. It is great.
Next game I played was Container, the 10th anniversary edition, or whatever. The massive boats and terrible art.
Unnecessary,
huge boats, terrible art. Yeah. Yeah, Container's a fun game. Container, it can get lopsided. Ours certainly was. Dallas won by a vast margin.
Okay.
But this is a game where, like, more often than not, you're exchanging money with other players.
Okay.
So it's like there is a bank, but you can never really just get money from the bank. You're always, I'm buying this from you, and in return, you'll buy this from me, and then we'll go and we'll try to sell them off at this island and stuff like that. But finally, once you get down, there's like this bidding war that kind of happens. So there'll be this like giant crate of 5 different boxes in this, in this shipment that shows up, and you've got to bid on how much you're going to pay for that. And so if you miss some of those bids, if somebody outbids you.
And is it set collection, or like what are you
trying to so different, each person has different crates that are different points.
Okay.
So maybe I'm trying to collect white crates, but that's kind of secret. You don't really know that.
Okay.
Whereas you're trying to collect purple crates, and so but when they get to this certain island, yes, you're kind of betting, but you're betting on like giant kind of jumble up. So there might be one crate you really, really want, a couple others that are like, fine. Okay. So it's like, how much do I bet on this? It's a fun game. It's very unpredictable. Right. Like it involves a heavy amount of like player interaction. Like I'd be curious to see whether like you could really strategize well in this game.
Okay.
I suppose you could, but
right.
But yeah,
you're playing some unique games.
Yeah.
That's wild. So yeah, again, Sarah and I got to the table in our living room and played a game of Forest Shuffle. And so this was I kind of lumped this play in with our last conversation about Forest Shuffle, but this was what kind of put me at ease of whether I thought Forest Shuffle was unbalanced or not. Where I kind of tried to employ the same strategy that I did when I blew you guys out of the water. And Sarah safely put me at ease and beat me again. Sarah's just really good at games, party people.
That's the excuse he uses, at least.
That's right. Or I'm really bad. I don't know. Right. Hey, I beat you last night, I'll have you know.
Yes, you did. No doubt about that. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. But yeah, so Forest Shuffle, still for me, again, as I'm ranking my games via pub people, it just keeps on getting chosen. I mean, you're a little bit of recency bias, but really, this is, if you love tableau building card games, this is an excellent one that plays in a relatively short amount of time. It has everything that those games typically have, but it just has this snappy turn thing that's really good, where you're either just playing one card, or you're drawing cards from a clearing area or the top of the deck. And then it has this wonderful thing that I also love in games, where in order to play a card, you often have to discard cards from your hand to do it. And I just love that idea of, I have like 2 potential sets that I can work on in my hand. But in order to play a card from one of the sets I'll be working towards, I'll need to sacrifice working towards the other set. You can't have up to 10 cards in your hand, so you can get a bit of flexibility there. But yeah.
Right.
It's really fun.
Yeah, no, it is. It's very cute.
Yes.
Paula Deming likes it.
So yeah, you warmed up significantly to this game after Paula Deming. That's right. Gave it her blessing.
Her top 10 games, but she also likes Isle of Cats, so what the hell does she know?
Everything! Isle of Cats is amazing.
My next game was Nova Luna. Weird themed game about the moon, and you're taking tiles.
Baby.
You're taking tiles around the moon and the cycles, and you're trying to collect. You're trying to put little chits down, little wooden tokens down on making adjacencies. You want to make all your yellow tiles touch and whatever.
Every tile has a scoring.
That's right.
Every tile has multiple scoring conditions that if you put the right tiles either like connected to a continuous line or adjacent to that tile, you'll then be able to place a little wooden token on that particular scoring condition. And it's not like you score points, it's just that you're racing to get rid of a certain amount with these wooden tokens.
Yeah, and it's got this interesting thing where like not all tiles are equal, and so if you take a tile, you go ahead a certain amount of time.
Yes.
And it's always like the player in the back is the one to choose. So you can sometimes take like 3 tiles more than your opponents if they're all really like small tiles and they're taking big ones.
And sometimes that's really beneficial.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, neat little game. I remember like when I saw it was like nominated for the Spiel one year. I was like, what is this?
Right.
And I'm still a little bit like, what is this?
Right.
But it's a fun game.
How is Mary liking it? Because Dallas borrowed it so that Mary could try it out.
Yeah, I think they both enjoy it.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Okay, so Sarah and I again. The table was still out. Our gaming slowed once we put the table away. Mm-hmm. But we played a game of Rajas of the Ganges.
Okay.
Oh, man.
It's a game both of you like?
Oh, we like it a lot. And I was cooling on it for a while because Sarah was consistently beating me.
Okay.
And so as we were getting ready to play, I was learning the rules, relearning the rules throughout the day. And I was thinking, okay, how am I actually going to play this? Like, how can I learn from the mistakes I've made? Because often I get sort of overwhelmed by this game. Mm-hmm. Because this is a game that has the classic, you have a prestige track and you have a money track. Mm-hmm. And the goal is to get those two tracks intersect, and whoever has the widest gap is the winner. Right. And I struggle sometimes, if I'm not focused, I struggle to keep in mind how I'm actually going to achieve that. Mm-hmm. And I end up just getting some prestige points, some money, some prestige, some money, and I just sort of fumble my way around. And so this time I thought, okay, what's my primary strategy going to be? Okay, I'm going to primarily sell goods at the market and have a little side business of kind of building buildings in my little tableau area. Mm-hmm. And it worked out pretty good. I did much better than I've done in recent memory, employing a strategy, seeing it through to the end. Sarah still won, but I felt good about what I did.
Okay.
So, again, if you're curious about Rise of the Ganges, think mid-weight Euro game with the opportunity to just roll a bunch of dice.
That's right.
Like, it's a lot of fun to just be rolling dice and allocating those to buy different properties that you place on this kind of network area that you're building and capitalizing on lots of bonuses. You're really trying to capitalize on the bonuses that are available every turn you make. Every turn, yes, you're going to place a worker to get some dice that you'll then be able to roll to see if it's the dice that you need to spend to get the things that you want. But in the meantime, you're really trying to take advantage of all the bonuses that are available along the way to kind of make the most of your turns.
Right.
And it works really well.
Cool. My next game, I'll name two. So went over to Marion Dallas's and we played through The Adventures of Robin Hood.
Okay.
So we've completed the whole of the first game. Now we're on to the expansion, the Danger of Friar Tuck, or Friar Tuck's in Danger, or something like that.
Something like that.
So yeah, you get all of your characters, but now you have Friar Tuck, who is not really he wanders around with you, but he's not like a character of his own. But there's like an imposter king that you have to prove that he's the imposter and dethrone him. It's going well. We lost our first game, so we had to like replay it. So I got to see kind of actually what happens when you replay a scenario, and there is some pretty interesting little changes that happen. Like when you replay it. It's kind of nice, and I think the second time you're almost always going to win. Like, it kind of skips over. It's like a lot of the things that you had to do the first round, you just don't have to do in the second play, which is nice. Like, you don't have to go back to the baker and ask him for directions that you already know. It's just like, you already know this stuff, so just go.
Yes, okay.
And so it saves you a lot of, like, time and energy. But we did encounter this weird thing where, like, I don't know, we got to this, like, treasure chest, and we opened it up, and there was just like a piece of paper, and then Friar Tuck was like, "Are you actually gonna take that? Like, this is holy or something, and maybe we should just keep it safe in the chest." And we did, but we're starting to think that like maybe Friar Tuck's a bad guy in this game. Like, he seems to be like working against us. Like, I'm like, but Friar Tuck, that would be like really useful. But he's just like made us feel bad, and then like. So we just like, okay, fine, we'll put it back in the box.
Are you going to be rewarded for your good deeds later? That's the question.
Well, like, we didn't have a choice. He just...
Oh, he did? Oh.
Like, it was just like part of the narrative where he's just like, you can't take that. But we're like, are you like an undercover agent? Like, are you working? Like, this would help us to defeat the guy.
Maybe something will come around.
That's right.
You'll have to go back to that chest. After you kill Friar Tuck.
Maybe. I don't know. Or the theory we're currently working under. Sure. So he's acting a little suspicious.
That sounds fun. That'd be fun if they just took license with the whole thing. It was like, Friar Tuck
is the villain.
Right. Maybe.
Maybe. Oh, sorry. And then afterwards, I played The Old Oak Prophecy with Astra. I played that a number of times with her this month. So that's the second version of the Kids Chronicles
Are you
series.
finished it yet? So I can borrow it.
Not yet. We got maybe two more things to find, and then the final battle. So maybe 2 or 3 more games. But yeah, same thing. You get like these, like, you know, they're not moonstones, but they're amulets of something. But same thing, Aster. Like every time I'm like, okay, Aster, we found one. Let's put it in the box. But the next game, she's like, let's use this one.
Yeah, right.
You can't use that now.
Yeah, we're not ready.
That's for the final battle.
Yes.
Yeah, this time it shows you like who the bad guy is. It's like this big giant monster.
Okay.
This big machine thing. And so Aster consistently wants to fight it. I'm like, well, we're only gonna fight it like really in the last in the last adventure. But yeah,
she's really into it.
She's really into it. Yeah,
that's nice.
Actually, we did fight it a little bit in one, but it always kind of runs away.
Okay,
it's like you get into it, and then as soon as you figure something out, it kind of runs away. But we had a rope, and we figured out we could like tie it around, its feet, and then kind of like trip it up.
Sure, 80 style.
That's right, exactly. But she was like, I'm just gonna hit it with the rope. And I was like, okay, well, we're using the rope.
Yes.
She's like,
it will tell us what we do.
But it's like, you tie it around the leg. She's like, no, I hit it with. I'm like, okay.
That's cute.
But yeah, it went over really well. She loves it.
Okay, so Owen was really kind of like, hey, Dad, can we play Mechs vs. Minions? We haven't played it for a long time. So we busted out Mechs vs. Minions, and we played another scenario of Mechs vs. Minions. We played a scenario that we had played before but lost. And so it's basically a minion gets into this giant mech that has like this big battle axe.
Okay.
And it's just like rampaging all around, and the goal is to damage it enough. But it has these like shields all over it. And so you have to go around the board and go on to these kind of sigils, and when you go onto a sigil of a particular color, you then remove the force field of that color, and now you can attack the minion with that color attacks. And so you just keep on going around to make your attacks more. So what we did is we just kind of focused on a couple of the colors and then said we're just going to attack him with these colors. Because, believe it or not, going around the board and landing on a particular sigil isn't as simple as it sounds in Mechs vs. Minions.
Moving is hard.
Moving is very hard. So, because this is a programming game where you have this like intense timed draft where you're drafting cards, and then you get to add them to your card row, and then you play out. And with kids who just like the cool images and they just want to do like the bomb effects thing, they're just playing cards, and I don't have enough time to go around and be like, okay, well, maybe we should do this, and they're like, no, Dad, we're fine. And it's like, okay. And so they're moving forwards and then backwards and then spinning around. But you know what? It is cool when you're playing as an adult. You are able to, within the first few rounds, you're able to kind of craft a pretty functional mech that's programmed fairly well. But you are at the mercy of damage that makes you spin around and this sort of stuff. But it could sound... Robo Rally is one of my least favorite games of all time because I was so frustrated with that mechanism. This starts with the chaos and frustration of that, and then you get to hone in. So each card slot allows you to put 3 cards down, and they have to be of a matching color. And basically, the more cards you stack on top of each other, the better the ability of that card. And so anyway, it was fun. We played on the easy version. We didn't play on the easy version the first time we played, so we just had to damage the guy 5 times, and it was great. The kids did get bored. They were having lots of fun, and then they got bored partway through. So it's still like, it's not a kid's game. But everything about it looks like a kid's game. So they're really confused.
Next game I played was with Father Santos, and we played Targi.
Okay.
So,
Again, what a hunk of trash this is.
He's got into board games, and so I thought I'd pull out this nice kind of 2-player, simple-ish Euro kind of game where you're just kind of working on collecting cards. You have to get different resources to buy the cards. You're trying to get either 4 of a kind or 4 different symbols into each little row, and then the cards do little benefits for you. Each card gives you maybe a discount on future cards or allows you to do something that you normally wouldn't be able to do or whatever. Simple game, relatively themeless. Like the theme is not that pronounced. It's Euro in that capacity, but it's something satisfying about it. It's simple, but it's, I don't know, just something about you put a guy here, and wherever the two intersect, that's the card you get. And
yes.
Just kind of thinking through that little path is really neat.
It's a really neat game. I just wish this was like played in 15 minutes less or something.
Right. Yeah, I can see it.
Like, it's just, for me, it fell off my ranking significantly just because everything about it I liked. Like, the rules I like, what you're doing I like, the Euro feel I like, the puzzle of connecting the guys, intersecting them, getting the card there I like, the set collection I like, everything I like. It's just that it's like we're oddly heavy.
Right.
For, like, what starts out fairly light and fairly long for it. So I
can see it.
Yeah, there's just other two-player games that I would play, and honestly, I'm not playing two-player games super often. Or two-player only games.
That's right.
Speaking of two-player only games, here's the star, Akrotiri.
Oh!
Yeah! So Father Greg played Akrotiri with our good friend Scott back in the summertime. Left me out. I was lonely and crying and wondering why my friends were playing games without me. And now I see why.
Yeah.
It's an excellent game.
That's right.
You don't want a third player messing this up. You can't technically play this game with more than two players if you buy multiple copies of the game and you're fortunate enough to get different colors.
They're fortunate. There's a randomness.
There's a little bit of a random, depending on the edition.
Okay.
There's like different colors, so it's not like the first print run. It was supposed to be that the first print run was like blue and white, and the second print run was black and whatever, gray or whatever. But, like, there's a print run out there that's, like, white and gray. So it's like, you might be able to get a third player in there. Anyway, Akrotiri is, I'd say at this point, I'd safely say it's a hidden gem. It's fallen under the radar enough, and a lot of people probably don't know about it anymore. But this is really worth finding and checking out if you can. It's a bit random. Like, it's a random game because the rules aren't super, like... The rule set is clunky in that basically what you're doing... Yeah, so you're trying to put temples out on these islands, but you're building the islands as you go. And the islands have different symbols on them. And basically, with the card that you play in order to play a temple, it just indicates, in order to place this temple, you need these two symbols somewhere to the north of where you're going to place the temple. And you need these symbols somewhere to the south, and so it's these to the west and these to the east or whatever. And you're like, okay, so like anywhere? So there's symbols all over the map by the time you're getting near the end game. But like, it was brilliant. There were so many symbols everywhere, but because as you're laying tiles out, you're expanding the map, you're playing on the edges. So even though there's symbols everywhere, you still continuously have to kind of build more symbols in order to be directly to the west or, whatever else, but you can also, like, to the west just means anywhere. So it could be, like, southwest.
That's right.
It still counts.
That's right.
So it's a little bit to get your mind around, just like, oh yeah, that counts. But once you do that, it's super fun. It's super fun. And, like, you're picking up goods as you go and you sell to a market, and the more that you buy from the market, the more you can sell it for, and all sorts of stuff.
That's right.
It's groovy.
Yeah, no, it is. I really enjoy this game. The next game I played was... So Marion Dallas got invited out to another person's house who had Scholars, and they played it with them, and so now I was jealous because they've played Scholars before I have, and that made me sad. But that was the first game that they played in like this whole series.
Okay.
And so I was like, this is not acceptable. We need to go back, not to the beginning, but close to the beginning. So we played Raiders of the North Sea.
That's pretty close to the beginning.
They're shipwrights and explorers.
Yeah, that's the first game of theirs that did well.
That's right, exactly. Yeah. Tottenham Raiders of the North Sea, and they both really enjoyed it. They're kind of we're making heavy gamers out of them yet,
Yes, that's right.
Sort of,
Well, because I made a contribution that I'll talk about.
That's right. So we're kind of moving up in that direction. But Raiders of the North Sea actually is not that heavy. It's quite medium-ish.
Squarely medium, I'd say.
But
it has a unique worker placement mechanism where you have different colored meeples, and the different colored meeples allow you to do slightly different things or place in different spots. There's spots that
some
limit
spots
you.
require you to have a white worker, and then other spots do better Like the food, the mill gives you more food if you have a white worker.
Yes.
But the silversmith gives you less silver than if you just have a black worker.
Okay.
So there's a kind of, I need to get a black worker now. Oh, now I need to get a gray worker. Now I need a white worker.
Yes. But a really neat thing of like where you go, you take a worker from there before you place your worker.
That's right. You always put one down, take one off. Put
So
one down, take one off.
you're kind of building your pool of workers, but it's also based on where you want to go. Like, so you can have this thing where you want to go to this spot, but you don't necessarily want that color worker.
right.
But so a brilliant little twist, and that was kind of their thing for a while. It was
right.
just like twists on worker placement. Okay, so at the church game night, Ethan and Owen wanted to play something with me, so we played Dragomino, but they insisted that we take out the broken shells. This game does not work if you take out the broken shells. So the whole idea, this is a kid's version of King Domino, and the whole idea is that when you connect to terrain types, you randomly take a dragon egg token, and it might have a baby dragon under it, and it might not. And you're going to score points for all the baby dragons that you have. But the whole thing is that you get to be first player if you're the last player to draw a broken eggshell. So with no broken eggshells, there was no first player thing. And so I was just randomly saying you're the first player. And then it's just up to who makes the most connections with their terrain. The thing that they hate the thing that my kids hate the most about this game is actually the thing that makes it possible to be a kid's game.
Right.
Where without the broken eggshells, grown-ups are going to stomp you every single time. But with the broken eggshells, it means that you can beat your daddy.
That's right.
But they get so discouraged by that. So anyway, that was an interesting play. I feel like I discovered what the game is all about.
Cool. I bugged Dan about this, but sometimes, he plays a game and then that's all he plays for like the next 8. Every time I come over, he's like, hey, why don't we play this game? I'm like, Dan, what's going on? You keep talking about this game for like, he'll talk about it for a month and then he'll sit on a shelf and
That's
nothing
right.
will happen with it. Well, this month I played the Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig.
Yes.
And I played it like 6 times.
There you go.
And like at least 3 of those were solo plays. But like the other 3 times I played with different groups of people. And pulled it out, and I'm really enjoying this game. It's like part of it's like kind of a Zen experience because you've got pencil crayons and you're like you have to like physically like color in like your rooms, and so there's like half of the game is you making decisions, and then half of the game is just the time it takes to execute that decision because you have to draw out like stencil the room and then kind of color it in and stuff like that. But it's got this kind of, I don't know if it's like that's so clever or whatever, but like just like where you complete a room, you get a bonus. And then you complete another room, you get another bonus. And then you use those 2 bonuses, and that gives you another bonus.
Okay,
and
fun.
Stuff like that. So just kind of
chaining of bonuses.
Yeah, just like lots of bonuses, things everywhere, little abilities that you can use.
And well received each time?
Yeah, I think so. It's a flip and right, I guess. But it's like a complicated flip and right.
Okay.
Like maybe I put it in the same kind of almost breath as say something like what's his name? Hannibal's Wall, not Hannibal's Wall.
Yeah,
Hadrian's Wall. But yeah, like something like that where it's like this is like a flip and right, but like there's a lot going on. The rules are not easy to explain. Like there's a little bit of a hefty. It takes a good hour to get through. So like it's not a short game either. It's a full game, but it's a lot of fun.
Here we go. So I played this game a couple of times this month. A couple times with Sarah, and then we got Father Greg into the mix. Parade. So I loved Parade the first time I played it at Dave's house. And I just thought, yes, this is my kind of filler game. Make no mistake, this is a filler through and through, but it is my kind of filler game. What a lovely little game. And it's out of print and hard to find and whatever else. And so I just kind of went on Kijiji one day, just kind of after being off for a while, and Parade was the first game listed at $10. So the cool thing about Parade is that there's just a row of cards, there's 6 suits, 0 to 10, and you're trying to get the lowest score. And so you play a card at the end of the card row, you count in that number of cards, then any cards that are remaining, now they're eligible. And so now you're going to collect any cards of the same color as the card that you played, and any cards of the same value or lower than the card that you played. Collecting cards is bad, but if you have the most cards collected of a particular suit out of everybody else around the table, then at the end of the game, you're going to only score 1 point per card. So it's this, Father Greg sees that I'm collecting red, And he just gets a bunch of red.
That's right.
And so, because he notices that my red cards are pretty high. And so if I'm scoring my red and he's scoring his red, I'm still scoring more points than him.
That's right.
Didn't work out for you though, did it, buddy?
It's this is a bit of a kind of an all-in like you're it's like a chicken fight or a dog fight or whatever, right? Where it's like, yeah, like you're competing with somebody like to who's gonna get the most yellow cards. Whoever doesn't get their most is gonna lose. like you're like, okay, like I'm either scoring 30 points or I'm scoring 6. Like I better get this. And so you're kind of like competing, and there's even like at the very end there's like cards that you can hide in your hand.
Yes,
that you can
there's
play
2
down.
cards that you can be hiding in your hand the whole game that you can play at the end.
And so there's a little bit of like swaying the balance. And, but I do like the multiplayer, like because I'm competing with Dan on red, I'm competing with Sarah on blue.
Yes.
I've got yellow kind of pretty much secured.
Yes.
Purple is a weird question. I don't know what's going on with that.
Because the whole thing of the game is that you actually want to collect no cards, but if you are collecting cards, you want to make sure that you're collecting a particular color that you've been starting with. So love it. Love this game. Love it.
It's fun. So I've been over to Father Santos's. We played a couple times this month, but we've played a lot of like kind of strategic games like chess. We played like Onitama, and we played Santorini, and we played Yinch, and we played things like that. But I decided to kind of move a little bit more thematic, and we played Whitehall Mystery.
Okay.
Into like a little crime detective thing. Kind of still sort of maybe chess-like. Like there's still kind of a strategic kind of moving around the board element. But with like a hefty amount of theme and kind of tension built in. And he really liked this game.
Okay.
So like he was like, we could play this every time we get together. And I was like, all right, sweet. So we played it like 3 times this month.
Okay.
So we played through Whitehall just like one time after another. And so then finally I said, you know what? Why don't we play a game very, very similar, Scotland Yard.
Okay.
And we played the old classic Scotland Yard. And just had a lot of fun just hunting down thieves. So
that's play Scotland Yard, just the 2 of you?
Yep.
Like just one person was Mr. X and
That's right. Yep. Yeah, I mean you could do it. It's it's an old, it's 1986 or 83 this game was made or something. Like it's surprising how old Scotland Yard is, and yet like Whitehall Mystery is better than Scotland Yard.
Yes.
I won't lie. But it's like Scotland Yard is still a game that is still worthy to be played.
Yes.
Even today.
Cool.
Even though.
And Whitehall Mystery is Letters from Whitechapel, but 2-player only?
No, it's more Letters from Whitechapel condensed into like a shorter time frame.
Okay.
You can get through letters.
But it's not just 2 players?
No, you can do up to 4.
Oh, okay.
I think even a lot of those games, like you can do up to 4, but I probably prefer them at 2.
Okay.
It's just like, one guy controls 3 detectives, the other guy is the guy running away.
Okay.
But if you're playing with 3, then you just have one guy, like each guy gets 1 detective, and then you have to work as a team, kind of against 1, like it's 3 versus 1.
Okay, this is it. Finally, I got to play Toledo.
Wow!
And you know what? I played it once with Father Greg, so I had it partially set up, figuring it out. We figured it out together. He had played it before, and we played a nice head-to-head version. And then Sarah and I had Marion Dallas over, and everybody graciously allowed me to play Toledo with them.
Which I'm amazed by.
And you know what, man? Like, okay, so this, I would say this is it's a heavy Euro, but it's on the medium side of heavy, but it's a heavy Euro. And this game is just so cool. It has this really great core mechanism where there's an action wheel, and then at the beginning of each round, you roll a bunch of dice, and each of the dice correspond to a particular resource type. And then, depending on the number that you roll of the dice, you place them on the different actions around the wheel. Now, on your turn, you're going to select a dice. And the pips on the dice is going to be the amount of that type of resource that the dice represents that you'll be able to collect. And then, it's 7 minus the pips on the dice. That's how much power you have of that action.
Right, basically the inverse of the dice.
Yes. So if you're 6, you're going to get 6 porridge.
Right.
then you're going to do one of that action type. You're going to have one power of that action type. And so the actions are, you're moving a carriage around this map of Europe, and you're building little like trading posts at the different locations, or you're picking up bonus tiles that let you do different things, or maybe you're not moving your carriage, but you're moving your
architect.
You're moving around your architect. And so he's building pillars in places. Now you can build cathedrals when you have a pillar built in that particular location, and you're going to get points for that. Or maybe you're just occupying your houses with people, and they can only be, you can only have the same type of person in one particular house, and they can't be in any other of the buildings. But then once you put a person in a building, then only a person of that same type of person can be in that building. So you're getting restricted in that way, and they're going to give you bonuses for things. Anyway, this is just like, I would say, a generous game. This game gives you so much flexibility, so many resources to work with, either in actual resources or in action power. And you get to choose turn to turn which way you go with that.
Right.
And there's a joker action, so that when the action that you want, there's a pretty good chance that when the action you want to do isn't very powerful, the joker action is fairly powerful, and so you can still kind of do what you want to do. But there is times where the dice from those actions are just gone, and you just can't do that action anymore in a turn. I just loved this game. And I did very well both times I played. I learned from Father Greg from when we played Darwin's Journey, where Darwin's Journey has a similar scoring mechanism where each round there's something specific that's going to score points. So there's like a fair in Diletum that travels around, and it's at a particular location. So in order to score that particular scoring condition, you have to get your carriage to that location, or have already built a trading post or house there, and then you can do the scoring condition. But basically, that's a scoring condition, I'm going to do that. Oh, that's the next scoring condition, I'm going to do that. In the meantime, kind of massaging my strategy and making it work together. But
I'm pretty sure it's my top T game of the T series. So yeah, I really do like it. It's just, I don't know, it just clicks with me. Or even if I don't win it, I just feel fun. I don't know. You're going around, you're building cathedrals, you just, every time you're getting resources, you're doing stuff, moving up something, like, there's always a lot of good actions. It's just trying to pick which one's best.
Yes.
But there's like a lot of tempting options available for you, and you just kind of going.
Anyway, Diletum was rock and roll, man.
Cool. My last game of the month was Ragnaroks. So,
what a way to end the month. There you go.
I like Ragnaroks.
Good thing the month's not actually over for you. You're going to be able to redeem this.
Every time I play this game, I'm liking it more and more. It's
cool.
It is. Cool. It's like this is an overproduced game. Like the board, the big rocks that you're placing. But it's got that kind of like, it's very similar like Hey, That's My Fish. And I like Hey, That's My Fish. Although Hey, That's My Fish takes a long time to set up, this one doesn't. It's very nice. But basically, you're just trying to get yourself into the biggest area where only you are, and get your opponents into little tiny areas where they're just like squished in between these rocks and they can't get out. That's right. And they just have like one or two little spots, and you've successfully managed to sort of corner them in. I thought I figured this out. I thought I had a good strategy. Father Santos still smoked me. Nice. But I still enjoy this game.
That's lovely. That's so good. The last game I played this month was at Dave's house last night with Father Dan and Father Greg, and we played Woodcraft.
Did we ever?
Wow, Vladimir Suchy. So I like this crowd. This Dave, Father Dan, Father Greg. Vladimir Suchy is like he's worthy of praise.
That's right. Oh yeah.
I haven't played a lot of Vladimir Suchy, and the games of his that I have played, I have enjoyed. Maybe not to the extent that these guys have, but I have enjoyed them. I really like Underwater Cities. I really like Last Will, but again, haven't played much of his. So this was my kind of, I was feeling like my little foray into Vladimir Suchy getting back in. It was kind of sprung upon us. Father Dan just rebelled against the system of playing a particular game each time. He was like, no. And he just set up Woodcraft, which is fine. I welcome playing games I haven't played before, so I was very excited. This game looks like one thing and then to me anyway, turns out to be another. It looks like a heavy Euro with all these different tracks. There's a big wheel. Again, another action selection wheel where you pick a tile, then you move it to another portion of the wheel based on where the actions tiles are. There's bonuses that might be associated with them that you can get when you pick them, whatever the case may be. But basically 13 turns in your game where you're going to pick something to do, and you're basically trying to... I guess you're magical kind of forest humans. You're not really elves. You have normal...
There's really no magic in this game, but...
No.
I guess you can grow trees fast.
You're kind of fantastical. But anyway, it's the theme is a little hard to grasp, but then once you're playing it, it starts to come through pretty well. Where you're just building different wooden items. Like maybe you're building a train set, or maybe you're building a chest. Maybe, you're building different things. But this is the heart of the game that I loved. The main conceit, the core conceit in this game is that there's 3 types of wood and they're represented by dice. And so there's green dice, yellow dice, and brown dice. Now, the contracts that you're fulfilling, the things that you're building, they're going to require a certain set of dice. And so it might require a brown 3, a green 2, a brown 6, and a yellow 4. Okay, so you're acquiring dice. You can either buy dice outright, or you're growing dice from your trees, or there's different ways to acquire dice. But you might not have the exact pips that you need on those dice. And so you can take your wood down to the buzzsaw table, and you can just splice that wood in 2. You had a 4 yellow, now you might have 2 yellows.
That's right.
Wow!
That's right.
Amazing! So I loved this concept of needing to have a very specific combination of dice colors and pips on those colors, and then having this really fun way to make that happen by either gluing dice together or splitting them apart with the buzzsaw. And now there's a bunch of wrinkles of limitations of how often you can use your saw, having to replenish, or maybe having multiple saws so you can do this more often. Really cool. A lot of things to still discover after a first play. There's still a lot more room to get better at this game, but I did fairly well. I enjoyed what I did. But here's the thing about the game, is that the main thing of the game, the thing that makes the game exciting and unique, I made 3 things.
Right.
And this is something that Father Greg complained on. Now, the other guys didn't. They went hog wild into that, and they did well. You made more things than you did before. I didn't really make things. I just kind of focused on claiming some scoring conditions. There's a cool mechanic where when you claim a scoring condition, if other players don't claim that same scoring condition in the same round you do, then only you're able to score that scoring condition. So I claimed a couple of scoring conditions, and I just focused headlong into those. And they really just focused me on upgrading my shop and getting all of my 6 rooms in my shop filled with workers. And I did well.
Right.
But I kind of ignored the thing that was coolest about the game. So there's an interesting thing. Now, you have things to say about Woodcraft.
Very minor things. Very minor things. No, so I should preface this. I love Vladimir Suchy.
Yes.
I like all of his games. So this is in my least favorite of Vladimir Suchy's games. I maybe rank it over Shipyard, but that's still high praise. I still rate this game at least a 7 or 8.
Yeah.
I think in reflecting back on it, one of the examples I'll compare it to, simple games, is Azul and Sagrada.
Okay.
So, Sagrada has this thing where there's 20 spots. Each round you draft 2 dice. So if you plan everything right, at the very end of the game, your last dice goes into the last spot on your window, and your window is complete. Satisfying. You feel I did everything I accomplished, I set out to do.
Yeah.
Maybe my window didn't have the most points, but it's a complete window. Whereas Azul, I think the one thing I don't like about Azul is every time I finish the game, you've only ever completed half of what you intend to do.
Right.
You got this whole pavilion to build, and you build 2 circles of it, and there's 6 left, and then the game ends. And you're just oh, okay, well, let's score up our stuff and see who wins. But I always look at my pavilion and go, why is this pavilion still half finished? If I'm going to tile this bathroom, I want to at least tile the damn thing.
The theme bites you in the butt here.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so Woodcraft has that same feel.
Yes.
Which is that at the end of the day, I look at my wood shop and I don't feel like I've really accomplished anything.
Yes.
I built a chair and a chest and a little toy train. I have no workers. I've managed to grow a tree, but then I cut it down.
Yes.
And I still only have 1 saw. But I did get a hammer and another saw. I guess that's good. But like, there's a lot of spaces, and you only use like almost like 10% of like what this game has to offer in a given game. You could go down one track and maybe say, okay, this round I'm going to fill up my shop. This round I'm going to get all the tools I can. But it's like at the end of the game, it's like it ends premature. It's like you've only used a tenth of your shop, and then the game's like, okay, we're done.
You know what? My description of this game, and it surprised me. Looking at it, I was like, oh, this is going to be a bit of a slog. But sitting down, taking one turn at a time, just doing an action, building this out, and just the theme of it, this is a pleasant game. This was a very pleasant experience. And you were so grumpy, but you were having a good time. This was one of the funnest plays I've had in a long time. We were just getting after each other. Father Dan was trying so earnestly to teach us, and Kristen was distracting us, and we were distracting each other, and he was like, you listening? Like, we were like, yeah. Like, we were the worst. But it was so fun. I had so much fun with that. And the actual experience of playing the game was pleasant, and I would even maybe say a little zen. And it's a cozy theme. It's a cozy theme. Woodcraft. Anyway, it was pleasant.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right, party people, there you have it. Those are all the games we played in the month of January. What did you play? Please let us know down in the comments below. And before we go, we are going to talk about what our best of the month is. No surprise here. For me, best game I played this month was Toledo. Head and shoulders above any of the other games I played this month.
That's a good question. I think my best.
We ask it every month.
I know, but
this shouldn't be a surprise.
Okay, listen. Concerned about what I was going to say about Woodcraft. I think my best of the month would be The Magnificent. I do enjoy this game. It's not actually that hard. Like, I think in my mind, I think of this as like a full on like pretty dense Euro, but like the instruction booklet's like 4 pages. Very short, lovely little game, but with a little bit of complexity to wrap your head around. Just like in the gears of it.
In the gears.
But yeah.
Wheels within wheels.
That's right.
All right, party people, there you have it. If you enjoyed this video, please press the like button. It does help a lot. Please share the video with people if you think that would be good for you to do. And subscribe to the channel. And until next time, party people.
Have the best day.
Hey, don't stop. Make sure to subscribe.